sound of footfall on stone. Shoes stepping rhythmically, ceaselessly, in a wavering sea of vibrant, throbbing color.
That's one end of the spectrum, where you have lots of time to let characters find themselves, find their relationships with each other, wander the world. The other side of the spectrum is a one-shot where it is super self-contained, so you don't have much room for like character discovery. If you're only playing for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, there is some, there always is some, but it's just a very limited amount of time. And stories, in my opinion, in most people's opinion, need a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if you've just got that one game to work off of, then it's a real tight 3-act structure that you're working with. But then in the middle of that are short-term campaigns, be it 3 games or 5 games or 10 games. Obviously, the more you have, the more time you all have, both the game runner and your players, to breathe. But with those 3 games that we focus on for Candela, you obviously need, so at least for me, when thinking of my chapter of Candela, I was thinking of the 3 chapters as their sort of markers on the ladder. But then within each game itself, you have those same sort of markers on the way. It's almost like prayer beads, where you have like 5 small ones and then a big one, and then 5 small ones and then a big one. You're thinking, or you can think of it in beats like that. It's like in a very short window of time, a balancing act of setting up the world, representing the world, letting the major events wash over your players that they have nothing to do with, that are just blowing through town, while also weaving them into the world and those events. So it's not as sort of cookie cutter or on the rails as a one-shot can be, because you have no time, but they're not as expansive as a 115 episode campaign. I was stealth preparing for my game running chapter with the preceding chapter that I was a player in, because I've known for a long time, before Candela even began on our channel, that I was going to get a turn at the table. And there's so much to know about in the Candela setting that, and we're spinning a lot of plates at Critical Role and at Darrington. So I wanted to make sure I had time to absorb all the people and the places and, the lore of New Fair and the Fairlands. So I specifically chose a character who was an expert in the place and the history, so that I could start working months in advance on being up to speed by the time I was sitting in the death dealing chair. I love the little tiny bits of overlap between my chapter and past. I really enjoyed everybody else's turns at the table, and I tried to nod a few times to what came before. And you're right, you said earlier, it's not like we have an ongoing story, but we are creating a tapestry of this place. And I feel like the city comes more and more to life with every chapter that happens. For my 4 weeks, or call it 3 months, if you take both my turn as Cosmo Grimm in the chapter run by Bria Iyengar into my chapter, I was just like eat, sleep, drinking Candela all that time, and was totally distracted like that. I've spent a lot of these past years, in addition to being a player at our table at the channel, I've been running games both for my kids and also for a group of friends and family. So all this time I've had more reps at bat, and happy to bring that sort of added experience to what I do. But I think anyone who remembers my past turns at the table running games knows that I have a love for horror and the bizarre. And as a player, most people know that I like taking characters and putting them in very intense situations and making them grapple with stuff. And that, for me, like, obviously I like monsters and I like ghosts and I love all that, but what players get to do and what people get to do in horror stories is face really extreme, intense circumstances. And the decisions you make in your life when you're just driving to work or thinking like, well, do I want to take this job or that job, or I wonder where should I go on vacation? They're not that there's one kind of decision you make in life. You're not really pushed to the brink. But when you are in a situation the likes of which we sort of circle around in Candela, you don't really know yourself until you are pushed completely to the wall. You might make totally different decisions you never imagined you would. Now, it's all make-believe, but that's what we've done since the beginning, is jump into sort of simulated memories and simulated life and getting to try on those extreme situations like a coat and see what happens. So, I mean, I'm a drama hound, and I loved my time in Candela because I got to take four people that four really good friends, and close the walls around them and give them an opportunity to, dig their hands into some real red meat and see what kind of decisions they would make in the extreme. Amy Carrero is always a wild card, and she always sort of pushes the boundaries of what the game is, and I love that. And I love sort of like the negotiation between player and game runner at the table. And there's rules as written, and that's fine, but I love in the moment when she sort of faces down rabbit holes and is like, is this what it is? And half the time I say like, well, not really, but half the time I go, no, but who cares? Let's go with it. That's amazing. And I'm there to be surprised like they are. And particularly in the coming chapters, many things happen that I didn't anticipate. And, behind the mask of the horror master, I'm going like, oh, geez, spin the plates, turn the cranks, where are we going to go? They zigged when I thought they were going to zag. And that's Amy always. Alex brought a wonderful deadpan seriousness with him, and I know it's not spoilers because we saw it in the first episode, but his use of the sort of the build of the surgeon was one of my favorite things in this entire chapter. And there's only more of that to come. I don't want to spoil any of it. Imari was a person that I knew from voiceover, from directing other actors, and I just wanted his voice and his person at the table. And he's our newest gamer at the table, and I always love having someone who's brand new and watching them learn how great these games can be, and seeing how much is possible. Right back to Travis Willingham at the first game we played at home before Critical Role became a thing, and going, can I do that? We got some of that from Amari at the table, and it's so much fun. And of course, his voice, is like butter. Just great soldier at the table. Had fun with him. And then Taliesin is Taliesin, and I'm gonna say that he was sort of like my partner at this table because he created so much with his character, and we're gonna get to it, but both with fashion and society and some of the mechanics of the circle or some of the nature of the circle came out of Taliesin's noggin, and he just delighted me from beginning to end in this chapter. And I love Percy. I know that you are a lover of Percy as well. This is some of my favorite. I think this is second to Percy in things that I've loved Taliesin has done with the company over the years. I just adored him from start to finish in this. And broadly answering your question, yes, they threw a couple grenades my way as the chapters come at me. It's not really a spoiler. It is just a tease. I'd say for the next game, Candela, but make it fashion.